What's happening, everybody? What's happening? Let's get these technical things worked out. Test 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Sheree, what you got?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
A little bit more projection.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey, guys.
Hey, y'all. What's happening? So, welcome to Behind Closed Doors. I was going to say breakfast with the Brookses.
Nope.
It is not breakfast with
It's not breakfast.
So, for those of you guys who may be jumping in, Sheree and I are testing out our new setup a little bit. And we wanted to jump on live. If you come on and right away, I'd like you to introduce yourself. Maybe say to us, where are you tuning in? Where are you viewing us from? City, state, maybe country, city, country, so that we can get the chats going on screen and I can see that we are in fact connecting the dots. We're going to talk about a couple of things, and I see it. Welcome to today's live episode. Babe, we're going to talk about a couple of things that I think that's really important. For those that don't know, Sheree and I are both relationship coaches. We created a community called the MAPS Relationship Academy a number of years ago, and we have given our lives really over to helping couples connect in ways that changes the game. As authors, we've written about it. We've done different productions and workshops and you name it. And so Behind Closed Doors is just our way of coming to y'all, giving y'all some behind the scenes personality viewpoints of how we move, babe. Come on, let's talk just a little bit, because today it's supposed to be a little bit more conversational and not as much teaching. I'm sorry.
We didn't officially introduce ourselves to those of you that may be new to the channel. First, we want to welcome you to the channel. I am the lovely, the magnificent, the amazing Sheree A. Brooks Jr. And you are?
Glenn P. Brooks Jr., author, speaker, coach, all the things. And I'm struggling because your mic is really low. But go ahead.
Okay, it's not low to me.
Okay.
But, okay, if you guys can hear me okay, give us a thumbs up. Also want to ask you guys, if you could, go ahead and share this out. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe so that you can get notifications when we go live or when we post new content weekly. All right, so today
we're going to talk about a couple of things, and I'm struggling because I can't see you and watch this camera. It's a little weird for me, so
that's okay.
But come on, talk to me.
Okay.
Talk to me.
So today's topic was actually motivated. We are currently doing a workshop in our a communication series in our online relationship academy, and yesterday was a great session. But it kind of sparked the conversation for today because we realized we were talking about different communication styles. And one of the areas that we try to help people to understand their communication style is also you have to understand yourself and understand your personality. And so today we're going to talk about how your personality type actually influences your communication style and things to look out for so that you can try to navigate your communication style and make adjustments to it as needed when talking to somebody from a different communication style based on their personality as well.
So, Sheree, real quick, and I know a lot of people often think, well, I know my spouse, I know my significant other, I know their personality. That's why I met them, or that's why I like them. That's why I deal with them, if you will. That's why I connected with them. But you and I have come to the conclusion that after 25 years, that's not necessarily true.
Nope, it's not, because the person that you knew when you met them, when you were dating, was one person. Prayerfully, they've evolved and matured and grown in different areas. And so they may not be exactly the same person. Yes, they are physically. Yes, at their core, they are. But there are things about us that have changed, that evolve. It's funny that you mentioned that, because even when you think about, people saying, yeah, I know my spouse or I know my significant other, if you've been together for any amount of time, I'm going to give y'all even just a simple thing that you may be shocked by the answer. So when you were dating or whatever, or when we first met, what would you say my favorite food was?
When we first met, your favorite food?
Or what would you say my favorite food is?
Now? Fruit. Anything like mango, papaya. we got smoothies here. Like, that's what I would say. Okay,
so this is not fair. But so when we were dating, what would you have said was my favorite food?
I don't know.
Or early on in our relationship?
Probably salad.
Oh, gosh.
Like, you was probably salad. Chicken, if I had to pick a meat.
Oh, gosh. No, it was seafood.
Oh,
and
snap.
so
I'm wrong.
Yeah. So he would say that he knows me. And even him saying the fruit thing, that has to do with where we live now and the climate. But I still would probably say my favorite food actually is something I shouldn't be eating a lot of, but it's actually pizza.
Here's what's funny, y'all. I thought about pizza, but I was like, ooh, that's not a good, that shouldn't be your favorite. No, but Sharia's we had pizza twice this week. I should have guessed that.
Shh, don't tell people.
Yeah, we had a treat meal twice.
And
we're coming back.
Right. And so it's little things like that oftentimes we'll think that we know our spouse or we know about them, but they've changed. Their taste may have changed in certain areas. So even the same thing with when it comes to your temperament. Like when we met, my temperament was very different than it is now, as well as my communication style was very different when we first met as opposed to where it is now. But that's because I've grown, I've matured, and I've done some work on myself personally to improve my communication style, which my temperament changing actually gave me the room to do that. Oh, I was.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm putting stuff up on the screen so that people can say, no, I heard you, babe, but give people a little bit more about that, because I honestly believe that your temperament is something that you're born with.
Right.
It is how God fashioned you. The challenge a lot of times with most people is they're not aware is that there are 4 of them that course through our bodies. And at any given time, you can switch between those temperaments, thus giving people the impression that you're one thing when you're really another. You have a primary, you have a secondary, and then you have 2, which we call, you have your superpowers, and then you have your secret superpowers, the ones that you can dip into when needed. But as temperament goes, we generally lean into a favorite one. And that's what she's talking about, how that favorite one will evolve over time. And sometimes it becomes more favorable for you to show up in a different sort of personality type. Does that help?
Yes. And so like for me, when we met early on in our relationship, and even prior to us meeting, my primary communication style was very passive aggressive. I had grown up in a home of people who did not talk. And when they did talk, it was little innuendos, it was little shots, it was things like that. And so it was never direct communication. So it was very passive aggressive. They would say things and they'd have an attitude behind it. So you never could tell where they were coming from. But that's how I learned how to communicate. So when we got together, I communicated in a more passive aggressive style. Which meant I didn't give whole truths. I would give part of the truth, not give the whole truth. But that also lined up with my primary temperament at that time, which if you know anything about the DISC assessment, you have the D, the I, the S, the C. I was a C, which is the conscientious, and what we refer to as the turtle, which my turtle's right here.
Yeah.
So the turtle, and I like to refer to the turtle as a snapping turtle, because I was a snapping turtle.
Yeah, but not all turtles will snap. You have some turtles that are box turtles, some turtles that are leatherback turtles.
Yes.
There are different types of turtles. And whenever you are in relationship with people, y'all got to understand that just because somebody is a turtle temperament doesn't mean that they can't communicate or they won't communicate. Why are you doing that?
Right, because I was a snapping turtle.
Yeah, you were.
And so I'm being passive aggressive right now.
See how this bull crap work? Like, I'm trying to figure out where we going and what's happening with this. But the point I'm making is that you can't assume.
Right.
You can't assume.
Right. And so my temperament was one that, like I said, that would give innuendos, that expected you to read my mind, that would give little hints and was never very direct. And so a lot of times when people think of passive aggressive, you always think it's this overt person that's being manipulative, that they're doing this thing intentionally, in the sense that they're just, it's always about get back. Well, as I talk about it, I guess, yeah, it was. But I think I was a nice passive aggressive person.
We call it nice nasty.
Yes, I was nice nasty. And so, but my communication style definitely was rooted in my personality. And as I've grown and I've matured, both have changed, because I've changed in my personality. Style has grown in other areas, whereas now that turtle or that C, the conscientious part of me, it's still there, but it's not my primary any longer.
You know, it's funny because Christine Psalms is chiming in on our live today. Hey, Christine. Christine is a turtle lion, and I'm going to go through some of these temperament styles. If you've ever taken a DISC personality assessment, you'll understand the D, the I, the S, the C. The D is a domineering kind of temperament. It tends to, and we'll talk about their communication patterns in a second, or their styles. But the lion. When a person's primary temperament is that of a lion temperament, they tend to be more aggressive in nature. Now, I will tell you that that's not always the case, but they're generally very quick to make decisions. They do not mince words. They're the kind of people that can come across as really cold, but they're not being cold. They're being highly, highly direct. That can come across as offensive to some people because typically lions get the rep of speaking their mind. They say what's on their mind and they don't beat around the bush, which brings me to the I, which is the flamingo. And if your primary temperament, Sheree, just let me run through all four of these real seconds so we can set this up. But if you have a primary temperament of a flamingo, you are that I on the DISC assessment. I want you to think a person who, quite frankly, it is just super engaging. They are always outside. They're very colorful. They're the kind of person that really comes into the room with their mouth first. They think second. They tend to be salespeople. They tend to be motivators. They tend to be people who can move the crowd. They are people. They are not they love people and they're super people pleasers in most cases. That would be your flamingo. The S on the DISC assessment would be what we would call the chameleon. And the chameleon, if you notice, is really colorful. Well, did you know the chameleons change their colors based on their environment? And oftentimes it's a defense mechanism. So what you know about chameleons is that they're incredibly consistent, but they change. They're highly adaptive, but they don't necessarily like to change. It is a defense mechanism. They work very hard on maintaining order and things like that. And so when things get a little discombobulated, they can come unglued because that's just the way they are. Now, they are people. They're just more introverted than that of their flamingo cousin. So the flamingo is a people person, but he or she is an extrovert. So if we jump down to the C, which would be the C on the DISC assessment, you would have your turtle. Turtles are highly analytical. Turtles are the kinds of people that really don't need people, or they come across like that. Reason why is because generally speaking, they're highly intuitive. They have done the work. They have the answers. Your turtles are the winners of Jeopardy. They know answers to stuff that people should not know. And that's why when you have turtles on your team, I have had to practice. You got to slow down and you've got to invite the turtle to the conversation, because turtles most likely are not going to just give you their unsolicited opinion. That would be the job of a flamingo, even a lion. But a turtle's not going to do that. However, if you can pump the brakes long enough and say, wait a minute, what do you think? Cherie, I see your wheels moving in your face. That's why a lot of times, if I want to get something out, I can't look at my wife while I'm talking, because her wheels are spinning. The turtle in her is analyzing everything I'm saying is. So I have learned, and we want to go to the communication styles. I've learned to communicate with my turtle. And a lot of times it is prefaced by saying, hey, I want to share something with you, and I just want to get this out. This is not for you to give me any feedback. This is not for you to give me any kind of your opinion on this. I just need to share something with you, and I'll give you a sign to let you know it's okay for you to give me some feedback. And so at this particular point, I don't need you to take notes. I don't need you to be thinking too hard, because quite frankly, if you're faced with a bunch of facial expressions, it's going to shut me down from sharing. Now, if she can't abide by that in the beginning, I would just look away and talk. I'm not going to not talk, but I'm just not going to look her in her face, because I'm going to stop and say, well, what was that thought? I'm going to stop and say, well, what was that look? And so, Cherie, does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That's hilarious. And so it's funny hearing you go through describing each of the temperaments. in order to link them to the communication style, it's you pretty much already explained it. But so the lion is considered an aggressive communicator in many cases. He is definitely strong. He's forceful. He or she is strong, forceful, very to the point, and can be very domineering. And so when you communicate with a lion or a person who's a D personality, you have to understand that they are going to be a forceful, in most cases, they're going to be a forceful communicator. They're going to be straight, direct, to the point, little emotion, little fluff. They don't want to hear all the roundabout stuff. Just give them the details. Give me the bottom line. I don't want to know all of that. And so if you are a person like me that is a turtle flamingo, I'm much more into the details. And so I've had to learn how to communicate with my lion using more of my chameleon than my turtle, which I'm able to contact, I'm able to get in touch with the people part of you in order to be able to share with you and be able to kind of summarize what I'm trying to communicate versus giving you all the bullet points, because the turtle going to give you all the bullet points, all of the steps. But I've learned because of your personality, I can't communicate with you in that way because it's going to go over your head.
Sheree, I want to jump in real quick. Hold that point. Okay. A lot of people don't care about it going over your head. In other words, there was a time where you wanted your point so bad that you had to finish the list. Right. And I think that people need to understand that if you wanted to connect with me, you had to consider how I communicated.
Right. And I think, and that's the key thing when we talk about communicating, the goal of communicating is that your message is received. It's not just that I get it out. You're going to hear what I got to say. That's not what it's about. It's about you actually understanding what it is that I'm trying to communicate to you. That's why it's important that you understand your spouses, your children's, their personality style, as well as their communication style, so you know who you're talking to. And you have to adapt the way that you communicate with each person based on that so that they can receive your message. Because I can talk all day long, but if I'm talking in a way, it's like you're speaking a foreign language. If I'm speaking in Italian and you know Spanish, I can talk all day long. I can use all of the body language, all of everything else. You have no idea what I'm saying. I can be just as passionate. I can be giving you a list. I can give you details. I can give you all of that, but I'm not speaking in your language. And so that's the key when it comes to communicating. We have to realize that the goal of communication is reception and
it's transmission and reception.
Transmission and reception. So I have to transmit my message in a manner that is going to reach the audience, and reception is making sure that they actually receive it. And so I have to slow down. I have to take the time to communicate in a way that you're going to understand it. So even for you, being a lion, you had to learn how to communicate with me, because I don't do well with the forceful communication. Because for you, forceful, that is elevated. When you get excited, your voice elevates. You can be very, very direct, and not that you can't talk to me directly, but not forcefully. And there's a difference between being direct and being forceful. When you're barking orders at a person, that's being forceful. When we're having a direct conversation, we're simply having a conversation, and it doesn't mean you have to be monotone, but it's talking in a conversational tone. I don't need the elevated voice. I don't need all of this when we talking. I mean, there are times Glenn will get excited about something. We're in the car, and I'm like, dude, can you put your arms down? He's like, what? I was like, the people in the car next to us think that we're arguing because you're like, you're doing, and I mean, I'm just saying, and this, that, and the other, and, because I really enjoyed, that steak we had. It was like really, really good. And the people in the car next door are like, oh my God, is he about to hit her in her head?
Listen, it's the antics of you demonstrating like how I move. And it's funny because, babe, when we are having those conversations, I'm almost offended that you interrupted my passion flow. And I'm not realizing that the people next to us are looking at us like, should we call the cops?
She may need help.
She may need a little assistance. I'm telling you, babe, that is so, so true. So again, if you just jumping in, we're live today on Behind Closed Doors. Normally, this is a pre-recorded segment that Cherie and I, put together some things, but we wanted to jump on live today to talk about some things that we kind of unpacked in a seminar that we recently started within our MAPS Relationship Academy. By the way, if you are here and there's anything you need in the way of the stuff that we offer, and some of you guys may be saying, yeah, but how do I get a hold of that assessment, for example? How do I, is there a way for me to be able to, take that test? Is there a book I need to read? Is there a course that you guys provide? Is there a group or a community? Well, the answer to that is go to our website.
Yes, and yes.
Wait a minute, hold up, babe.
I said yes, 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 and yes.
Yeah. Listen, I'm pushing buttons over here trying to get it all together. But the answer is absolutely yes. If you do me a favor really quickly and go to the website that I just posted right here, GlennPBrooksJr.com, GlennPBrooksJr.com, you can find all of what we're talking about. If you want to jump on a discovery call with us, if you want to set something up for you and your husband to get some individual coaching or some group coaching or whatever the case may be, if you just need to air out some thoughts and need some direction, we can help you. Click that link and just peruse through the website real quick, get familiar with it, and whatever way we can help you, we're here. So if we can, babe, I want to kind of go through some of the rest of these things just a little bit and kind of slow down and just talk about why is it so important for you to understand how your temperament and your communication styles connect.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we've talked about the the lion and how he can be aggressive, how he can be assertive, how he can be very direct, but let's talk about the flamingo. So the flamingo is typically the life of the party. He's the fun starter. He's the one that is going to be the one that's going to come in the room with his mouth first. But the flip side of the flamingo when it comes to communication style is that the flamingo will avoid confrontation because the flamingo wants everybody to be their friend. The flamingo doesn't want anybody to get upset. The flamingo doesn't want to step on anybody's toes. And so Glenn you mentioned the flamingo being a people pleaser. You're so concerned about pleasing people that oftentimes you won't speak truth. You won't communicate the truth. You'll skirt over issues because you don't want to rock the boat. You want to make sure that, everybody's happy. I don't want to bring that up because, they might get upset with me. And so you'll avoid talking about details and things that are really important because you want to make sure that everybody gets along. And also flamingos tend to, and I'm not diagnosing flamingos, but they tend to be a little ADD. They're kind of all over the place. They can lose focus really quickly. So when you're communicating to a person who's a flamingo or an I personality on the DISC assessment, you want to make sure that you give them bits and pieces of the conversation. You can't sit down and give them a dissertation on anything because their mind is they gonna check out on you. They can't stay focused for long periods of time. You have to give it to them in bite-sized chunks so that they understand it. So when communicating with a flamingo, I need to make sure I give them bite-sized chunks. I make sure that I'm not in my emotion because if I get emotional, it's going to cause them to get emotional, and then it's just going to be this whole emotional thing and nothing is going to get talked about. So why are you laughing?
That is freaking hilarious. But it describes me to a T. So if you haven't figured out, I am a high D and a high I at the same time. I'm a high lion and a high flamingo. And what that simply means is that I don't do details. As a matter of fact, minutia makes me crazy. Don't leave me in the weeds because I'll die there. And for Cherie, if she's trying to communicate with me in her style, what's invariably going to happen is that there is this 15-point discussion she needs to have. Like there are 15 steps to this, and I'm dead on step 2. And so she is now frustrated by the time she gets to step 3 because I'm what, Beck?
What you're not listening. What did I just say? Did you didn't do that step. How did you jump over that? And now oh my gosh. It's not that hard.
Oh my God. And now you insult my intelligence by saying it's not that hard. So now the conversation switches. So now we're talking about, so I'm stupid now. So what you're saying is I'm stupid, you're smart, and I don't get it and I can't get it.
I'm just saying.
That's what you're saying.
I'm just saying. I mean, so.
Christine, you know the truth. And it shall set you free. Talking about not 15 points. Christine has 32 of them. And she just, because of the lion in her, she rattles through hers quickly. That's all. That's the only difference. So Christine is a lion and lion and turtle. So the girl got 15 points. Unlike Cherie's turtle, she ain't taking her time with each one. It is da 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 da, and if you can't keep up with her rhythm, you're going to die on the vine. Am I lying, Cherie?
No, you are absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, and as we're laughing about this and we're joking about it, but these are things you have to consider when you're communicating with people. You need to understand who you're communicating. Just because I know you from work or just because we've met and we get along does not mean I understand how to communicate with you. And that's why it's important, if you are in a relationship with somebody, even with your kids, if you don't know their personality type, and Glenn offers, he's a certified disc trainer, and he offers, you can go to our website and get the assessment. You can take it for yourself as a family. We have a family pack. We also have it for couples where you can take the assessment so that you can all understand each other and also understand how to communicate with each other. It's not just, this is not like zodiac signs. Ooh, I'm a Pisces, I'm a Cancer. No, this is like scientifically proven facts. The DISC assessment has been around forever. These are things, but it hasn't necessarily been used in this manner a lot of times for people to apply it to their communication styles. And the thing that we realize in relationships, that if you can't communicate with who you're in relationship, your relationship is dead in the water. Because at the core of every relationship is communication. You have to be able to communicate with the people you're in relationship with.
So I want to remind you guys again, welcome to Behind Closed Doors. This is a live interactive. If you're here, do me a favor, say hey, let us know where you're tuning in from. Cherie and I was just kind of inspired. Tuesday night, we started a 6-week training course inside of our MAPS Relationship Academy, where we have been nurturing couples and parents for over 7 years now. Every single solitary week. If you're in this listening audience and you can hear us and you find yourself outside a community when it comes to growing healthy relationships, I want to strongly urge you to give us a look, because this is probably our secret sauce, Cherie. It's the fact that you could grow in community with other chameleons like you, who were wives, who had husbands that were flamingo lions like me, that you now have a community where you can bounce stuff off of and you can get anecdotes and wisdom on how to do this thing right. Most people, particularly my married couples, the reason why your relationship comes unraveled or unglued is not because you are starting to not love each other anymore. That becomes the byproduct of you not having the skills to work on doing life together. Then you become unlovely. Right. Then you become unlikable. Now it becomes, I don't want to live with you anymore. Not because, my first issue was the fact that, I'm no longer in love with you. It's because I don't know how to do life with you. And so as we are, endeavoring to help people, consider that. Jump on GlennPBrooksJr.com, go to the website and see it's right there in front of you and down below the lion and the turtle. Take a look at that website, and if there's some tools that we have that can help you, by all means, grab one of them, grab 2 of them, and make sure that you don't find yourself out there. This training that we're doing is one of those tools. Right. It's a live training, and if you want to commit to it, we're going to give you the replays to it, because we want you to win, Cherie.
Yeah, and I was going to do something goofy, but I'm not. So as we move on, so the third
His was funny to me. Turtles' timing generally is way off. They don't have the rhythm of comedians that are able to jump. So Cherie, thank you. You did good, babe.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So the third temperament is the S, which is we consider the chameleon. So the chameleon can be actually is probably the most balanced when it comes to communicating, actually, because the chameleon, it can be detailed, but they also are a people person. And so they kind of balance the two between the lion and the turtle. And they also have a splash of flamingo in them as well. And so for the chameleon, they tend to be much more patient when communicating. They're methodical. They can be very diplomatic. They also value communication. They value making sure that what they're saying is being heard. They're typically very good listeners. They can be empathetic. The biggest challenge that they have is sometimes they can have trouble adapting to change. And when there's a lack of communication, that can be a challenge for a chameleon. If you're not talking to them, if you're not giving them, you're not sharing with them what you're feeling, you're not sharing with them what your needs are, that can be troublesome for a chameleon, because we will tend to get in our feelings and in our mind, and this is where the analytical part starts going, because now I'm running through my list. Well, what did I do wrong? Well, how could I fix it? And all of this. And so, for me, I know, like, with certain people in my life, that's been one of my challenges, that they won't communicate with me. And I'm like, will you just tell me? Just tell me. And it's reflected when we first started dating, when we first got together. I remember telling you there was a particular situation that happened, and I was like, just tell me the truth. I was like, just tell me the truth. I just need to know. I can deal with it. I can handle it. I'm a big girl. But if you were to decide not to share that part of yourself with me, for me, that would have been a deal breaker, because I'm like, I just need to know that you feel comfortable enough to share any and everything with me.
Let me jump in and help give some context to that and the way chameleons' brains work. Chameleons are carers. So if you look at your industry of caretakers, in many cases, and I'm saying the industry, not necessarily in your family and that sort of stuff, although that's true, they generally are led, or those organizations often are started by chameleons. They care enough to stay in something long enough with you until you get better. The difference, though, with their care and, say, a flamingo care, because they both are people, right? A chameleon is introverted. So that's why when Cherie said that if you don't talk, her introversion is going to overprocess what you're saying. And that's where, fellas, you get in trouble with, but I ain't say that. I said what I said, and that's all I said. And why has it got to be more than that? And this, that, and the third. And it's something we talked about it just this morning, and we're going to deal with this on our next installment of our training exercise that I hope if you get this in time enough, you're able to be a part of. But, babe, it's because you don't have language. Right. It's because if I gave you language around what I just said and details around that, it would cause you to back up off me.
Right, and that's good. And the danger with the chameleon, as much as they can be the balanced communicator, they can be, when they're healthy, they can be really balanced in their communication. When they're deprived of communication, or they feel like they're being deceived, or they feel like they're not being communicated to, or it just becomes, there's constant change going on. There's things that they feel like things are out of their control. They can revert to passive aggressive communication, because when they feel like they're backed up, it's like, I've given you all that I can. I'm here. I'm trying to talk to you, and you won't talk to me, and you just won't. Okay, so, I've tried, and it's not working. They will then oftentimes revert back to passive aggressive behaviors, because it's like, well, when I talk, they don't receive it. When I try to communicate, they don't receive it. So I'm just, this is where now I'm walking through the house with the attitude, with the laundry, and throwing it on the floor, because I done asked you 50 times to do something and you won't do it. So now I got an attitude. And
50 billion times.
50 billion times I done asked you to help to wash the dishes in the sink. So now I'm in the kitchen and I'm slamming dishes and making all this noise, so that passive aggressively you're going to get the hint of what it is that I've been saying.
And the crazy part of that is, Cherie, if you're dealing with a flamingo or a lion temperament, they don't pick up hints well. They ain't paying attention. They off on the other page. Now they looking at you like, what? And you think you crazy. I know we're going to go to the turtle and we're going to talk a little bit about this fourth temperament, but I just want to take a quick minute for those of you who may be just jumping in. We are live. We certainly would love for you to interact with us and engage us. If you have questions on anything that we've shared, please put them in the chat. If you're catching this by way of replay, please, again, engage us and we'll be more than happy to answer those questions. If you're looking for tools, maybe how to find us or how to work with us, or if you want to be a part of our communities, go to glennpbrooksjr.com and you can find all that information. Cherie, one thing that I appreciate about your chameleon temperament is that you are very, and this is quite natural for chameleons, you care to the point of change. You mentioned the fact that chameleons don't adapt well. However, and it sounds a little oxymoronic, they're highly adaptive.
Yes.
And let me tell you what I mean by that. Cherie adapts best when she has information. There are people I know that even with the information lions, even with the information flamingos, we don't generally adapt well because it doesn't stick. So we can switch gears, but we'll switch back. You know, that's where that ADD part, when she talked about where flamingos a lot of times display ADD type behavior, because for real, our temperaments are that of just kind of sporadic, fly by the seat of our pants, that sort of stuff. And it gives ADD vibes, if you will. And it makes you, it slows her roll. So she will ride with me. She'll make every adjustment. And I've seen this in the last 25 years that we've been married. But that doesn't come well on the fly. That does not go over well if she doesn't have information. If I am just skirting over that issue or speedballing, which makes her feel like she's being sold. And now she's like, I ain't moving.
Right. It's funny you mentioned that. And so even as you talked about that and you talked about how, you know, the different temperaments will adapt to changes differently. So for us, and I'm going to talk about us, your flamingo, and this is why it's so important for you to understand your spouse's temperament, understand their communication style, because it's going to save you a whole lot of frustration. It's going to save you headache. It's going to save you from thinking you done lost your daggone mind. So Glenn is a lion flamingo, but when it comes to change or to changes or things that areas that, I'll say it this way. Say we've had a disagreement about something. There's been an issue. We have a conversation. We talk about it. I say, okay, this is where I am on this. I really need you to work on this, that, and the other. Now, me, because I am a chameleon first and then a turtle, I'm not a fusser. I'm not going to, excuse my friend, bitch and moan. I'm not going to rant and rave about something. Once I've had the conversation with you, and we have a detailed conversation with you, I've had the conversation. I'm not going to keep rehearsing this conversation. I've told you that. But because of his temperament, we had the conversation. A week later, he don't remember the conversation. He done moved on to the next thing. So when a week or two later, I see that you're doing the same behavior you were doing before, now I could escalate things and why you always ignore what I say, this, that, and the other. You know, you don't care about me. I've learned because of his temperament, it's not that he intentionally is not trying to change that area. For him, if something is not top of mind, it's not top of mind. Whereas for me, I have, when it comes to issues, you know, and it's not a good thing, but it's a good and a bad thing. I maintain this list of what those issues are. Now, I don't maintain the list in the sense that I'm throwing out the scroll in front of him every time we have a conversation. Well, you never dealt with this.
Yeah, that's where she gets historical.
Item number 22 still hasn't been dealt with from 2002. No, I don't do that. But I'm still conscious that this is still an issue. The issue hasn't been resolved. He, on the other hand, because of his temperament, because of his makeup, he doesn't function that way. If it's not crisis, if it's not top of mind, he's not thinking about it. It's not that he doesn't care. It's not that he's disregarded what I've said. It's just simply that he's moved on to the next thing. He doesn't have the capacity.
That's a great word.
To hold on to all of these things and still do all of the other things.
That's a great word. Cherie, I got to ask you this question because I can hear somebody listening to this or viewing this saying, how do I change? How do I live with that? How do I grow in community or grow in relationship with a person? Because it gives off the vibe of, I don't care about you. It gives off the vibe of what we said wasn't important enough for it to stick. And you do a great job of not taking things personal in that regard and then making it about how I've disrespected you. You do a great job of saying, no, that ain't got nothing to do with me. That's who he is. And we need to work on that, but it's not something that would make me throw the baby out with the bathwater. Can you help a person who's growing through that right now?
Right. I think the thing we have to remember is that we train people how to treat us. And I use the word train intentionally. Just like when you're teaching your child a new skill, they learn by repetition. So if something is important to me, if there's a particular area, thing that Glenn's not doing, he's not giving me, number one, he's not giving that to me because that's not something he's used to doing. So he has not been trained how to do that. And so if this is something that I want, if it's something that's important to me, I have to train him. And so training him is not, me lording it over him. It's not me beating him over the head with it. It's gentle reminders. It's no difference than if you're training your child, your toddler, to pick up behind themselves. You showed them the first time, hey, pick up your toys when you finish, go put them in the basket. They pick them up, they go put them in the basket. The next time they playing, they get up, they get ready to go to bed. Sweetie, come back. What are we supposed to do right now? I don't know. What do we do when we finish playing? Oh, I pick up my toys. I go put them up. Now that sounds very elementary.
That's what I was going.
That sounds very,
because I can hear a man saying.
Well, I'm not saying talk to your husband that way.
Right.
I'm using that as an example. So I'll use a real example. So like Glenn helping out more around the house. So when the kids were home, they helped out with chores. They had chores. Since we've been empty nesters, we've had to, divide the chores. So I'm not doing the majority of the chores. And the reason why I was doing the majority of them, because I like things done the way that I like them done. But as we've gotten older.
That's turtle behavior.
But as I've gotten older, I don't like doing everything anymore. And so I've had to train Glenn to now step in and do different things. And so I have to ask him, like, hey, boo, did you do the dishes? Oh, I'm gonna go get to it.
Oh,
okay.
Snap, I forgot.
It's not me. God darn it. You ain't do the dishes again. Why I gotta, it don't take all that.
So I want you to kind of explain. I know.
And it wouldn't be God darn it.
No, it would be another word.
Yeah.
So, but at any rate, I do want you guys to understand that there are methods and skills that if you learn them, you can apply them. And I think that, Cherie, one of the challenges is we know the good to do, but we don't do it. Thus, we miss the mark. But if we don't know the good to do it, we don't do it, not because we missed the mark, but because we never had the tool.
Right.
We never had the thing lined up and figured out. So that's why I want to encourage y'all, go to the website, glennpbrooksjr.com, find a tool that works for you. For you, it might be a book that we've written. For you, it might be a personality assessment. For someone else, it may be you need to be in our group coaching called Community, where you're growing in community week to week with other like valued people, not just like-minded, not just like interests, like values, right? And so there's no judgment. There's not people in there running back telling people about what you done did, and that it's a place where you can be incredibly vulnerable and you don't have to feel unsafe. So that might be what you need. Go to glennpbrooksjr.com, find that out, and let's figure out how we can help you. You want to go to the last one?
Well, we kind of talked about it already, but we can go back over it. So the turtle, or the C personality on the DISC assessment, they definitely are precise, diplomatic, very detail oriented, and analytical. Their challenge can be that they can be overly critical and come across very cold. They can be very monotone. They can disassociate very easily in conversation. Their need for details can make them seem indecisive or overly cautious. They will get caught in paralysis. What is it? Paralysis analysis. They will mull something over 50 billion times in every scenario possible before they make a decision.
Yeah, turtles will talk themselves out of great opportunity because
Yes.
they overthink things.
Right. And so when you are in relationship with a turtle, you want to give them the details, but you don't need to give them too many details. You want to give them a, for lack of better terms, a deadline. You know, if there's a decision that needs to be made, then you need to say, hey, let's talk about this. These are the details. You give them time, let them ask their questions, give them all the information that you can, and then say, hey, I know you need time to think about this, but can we get back together next week?
Can we talk?
Can we get together on Friday and sit down, and I can hear any objections or any questions that you have so that we can make a decision and move on this? If you give them information and you leave it open-ended, it could be Jesus may come before they get back to you with a decision. And so the other thing with them is don't take the stoic face, the non-emotion, don't take that personal. They, in many times as a turtle, when someone's having a conversation with me, this brain is doing all this stuff. I got so much stuff going on in my head. I'm not thinking about my face.
Come on.
Turtles, typically, they show that when they show their emotion on their face, it's not in the proper time often. So we are the ones that you always saying, watch your face, watch.
Listen.
Because I'm having a thought, and it's like, you talking about something, and I done had a thought attached to something you just said, and my face is like.
Now, here's the other part I will say about a turtle. Listen, if you are in relationship with a turtle, I know that, sometimes it can get you in trouble when you pay attention to their faces, but it can also get you in trouble when you don't take a temperature. So I need you to understand, see, I've learned Cherie's turtle long enough over the years. I can tell when there's a disconnect in the middle of a conversation. And so I'm able to arrest my lion. I'm able to focus my flamingo because I'm starting to move in my turtle. And now I'm looking at her turtle to turtle. And at this particular point, now you have to understand, just to give you some percentages, I'm 99% flamingo. I'm 81% lion. I'm 39% chameleon, and I'm only 25% turtle. So I have it in me. I just don't have as much as the lion. That's where I reserve for me this notion of, wait a minute, we just lost transmission. Does that make sense? We just lost, for some reason, my lion turned my headsets down or something. There we go. We just lost transmission. And the problem is that in us losing transmission, there's now not a connection being made. Does that make sense, Cherie?
Yes. I couldn't hear you either. I don't know if they were able to hear you because I couldn't hear you. But yeah, definitely that connection makes sense. And the other thing you have to remember that we all possess all four of these in different percentages. And so you guys might have heard his percentages. How you 99, how you 80, how you that adds up to more than 100%. It means you're stronger in that particular one. But we all have all four. It's not going to be equal 100. So don't get caught up in that, my fellow turtles, because I can see some of them. Hold up,
I never thought of that way.
That didn't add
I didn't. No.
But we all possess all four of these. But it's just what percentage, what ratio do you operate in? His highest, he operates at the majority as a flamingo and a lion. His minimal is the chameleon. The least is the turtle. For me, mine is the opposite. I operate highest in my in my chameleon, then my turtle, then I think it's actually my flamingo, and then my lion. And so, but I have all four, and depending on the situation, and that's why this assessment is key, because you'll learn what your natural numbers are and what your adaptive. So depending on the situation, I can be a lion. I can be 100% lion in the right situation. And so it depends on what the situation is. And so if you want to learn more about the personality assessment, like I said, Glenn is a DISC certified instructor. We offer what's called the W2J disassessment, which is Welcome to the Jungle, where we use the animals to be able to help you visualize what the personalities are. You can find information on that at our website at glennpbrooksjr.com. Also, if you want to learn more about the MAPS Relationship Academy, about the things that we do with couples, with parents, what current workshops or series that we're doing that are open to the public. If you'd like to learn out information about how to come into our coaching community, you can get that information there as well by scheduling a free discovery session with us. But want to thank you guys for joining us today. It's been a great session, a great episode today on Behind Closed Doors with the Brooks. We hope you guys will join us
Absolutely.
next week. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe, ring the bell, do all of the things, do a little dance, get a little jig on, all that, so that you can join us next week. Once again, I'm Cherie A. Brooks Jr.
I'm Glenn P. Brooks Jr. At the end of the day, here's what I can promise you. You cannot get to any place of significance by yourself. Why?
Because we all need some help.
Y'all be good, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Bye, guys.